Good afternoon and welcome to this Frontiers Info Day. Thank you all for joining us today. And whether you are with us via Zoom or watching it through YouTube, we're delighted to have you here for this session. My name is Anna, and it's a pleasure to be hosting this Info Day on behalf of the Frontiers Consortium. Before we start, let me remind you that this session is being live streamed on YouTube, and the recording will also be made available later on this channel. So today's session focuses on the currently open call for applications within Frontiers Science Journalism in Residence program. This is an exciting initiative funded by the European Research Council that creates opportunities for science journalists to undertake immersive residencies within research institutions. I believe I can speak to all of us when I say that we are coming together today as a diverse group of professionals who share a common belief in the power of science, in the importance of quality journalism, and in the need of strengthening science reporting throughout Europe. Our plan for today is very straightforward. We'll begin with an overview of the Frontiers projects and the current call for proposals. We'll highlight key aspects of the application process and mention some of the frequently asked questions. And then finally, we'll open the floor for a Q&A session to address any questions you might have. And without further ado, I'd like to invite Antonio Granado from the Frontiers Consortium to provide us with an overview of the project and the details of this call. Antonio?
Thank you. Thank you all. As you all know, Frontiers was funded by the European Research Council to be a residency program for science journalists. Our idea since the beginning was to give an immersive period to science journalists in all European countries to spend some time in a research institution. And the program will run from 2023 to 2027. We are now talking in this session about the third call. We will have a fourth call, but I'll speak about that at the end. Frontiers is managed by a consortium. It is formed by Inspire Science from Israel, the Center for Ethics in Science and Journalism from Italy, and Fabio is here. Yoram is also here from Inspire Science, and Christina also is here from the Center for Ethics in Science Journalism. Me, Anna, and Rita work at Nova University of Lisbon. What are the values behind this program? And this is very important for you to understand our idea when we designed this program. One of our first ideas and values is that science reporting needs to be ethical. We believe that a good science journalism is very valuable for society, and so we can have journalists writing about science in an ethical way. The other important value that we really want to stress in this meeting is that there is total journalistic independence in this residency program. There will be no interference at all with your work or with the end products of your residencies. And third question, which is also very important, it is important that your projects focus on science, on frontier research. And this concept of frontier research, we can talk about it a little bit, but there are lots of information in our website of what exactly we mean by frontier research. Our target in this program is to attribute around 40 fellowships to science journalists in different career levels. Each residency should take from 3 to 5 months, and we make a division in this fellowships. I will talk about it in a moment. We will have training and networking during the residencies, and also we have a dedicated structure to follow Frontiers Fellows and host institutions in order to help them in every step of this process. And the grants that we will be giving in the fellowships will be in three levels: early career, which means that we will accept journalists up to 5 years of experience; mid-career journalists, 6 to 9 years of experience; and established journalists, 10 or more years of experiences. The grants are paid directly to the journalist for expenses during the residency. This is very important because you will receive the money directly. And also it is important to know that this call number 3 that we are talking is dedicated to early career journalists only. What are the criteria to be a fellow of this program? The call is open for journalists worldwide. It is very important to understand that not only European journalists, but American journalists and Australian journalists and Asian journalists can apply to this program. The journalists will try to produce independent journalistic content in various formats. It can be a video, it can be a podcast, it can be a series of stories, and the only thing that we ask you is that you have full commitment to engage full-time during the residency. During the residency, you will not be able to work for other places. The host institutions of this program are located in EU member states or Horizon Europe associated countries. These host institutions, again, I stress this because it's very important, they must be doing cutting-edge research across any scientific field. So not only life sciences or math, but also social sciences and humanities. And the host institutions need to be committed to provide support and full independence to the journalists that will do the residency in their institution. How does the application proceed? The first step is that the journalist needs to select a host institution. There is a database of research projects and institutions. That database can be checked and can be seen in our website. The database is just a starting point. The institution that receives the journalist does not have to be in this database to be eligible as a host. This is very important. But the institution needs to be doing frontier research. The second step is that the host institution needs to sign a commitment letter, and the journalist then should complete an application form. This application form has information about yourselves, about the host institution, and you need to do a summary of your residency project. What will you be doing while in that institution? And finally, after all this is completed, you can submit the application form. After everybody submits the application form, we go into an evaluation step. And this evaluation has two steps. We first evaluate and rank all applications. The residency criteria, you can get a maximum of 40 points. The journalist criteria, a maximum of 40 points, and the research criteria, a maximum of 20 points. And then after we do this, we need to go to step 2 to ensure that there is diversity of selected applicants. So we will be looking at career level, we will be looking at gender, we will be looking at geographic distribution of hosts, so we cannot send everybody to Germany or to Spain, and also the scientific areas covered in the project. We want this project to be as diverse as possible, so we will also be looking at that. In the previous calls, round 1 and 2, we received around 80 applications. We already have 17 Frontiers Fellows from 10 different nationalities. 2 are early career journalists, 7 are mid-career, and 8 are established. We have host institutions in 10 different countries. Because of only having 2 applicants that received this grant in early career, we decided that the current call, this round 3, is exclusive for early career journalists. We don't, when we started this project, we decided that we didn't want to give all the available grants to mid-career or established journalists. We also wanted to give some of these grants to early career journalists. And because we had not many applications, and the applications of the mid-career and the applications of the established journalists were in some cases much better than the ones of the early career journalists, we decided that this call would exclusively be for early career journalists. The call opened, as you know, on the 4th of February. It will close on the 6th of May, and then in July we expect to announce the results of this call, and in the autumn of 2025 we expect you to start the residencies. Around October or November this year, we will have a training session with all the selected early career journalists. The next call, the round 4, the last round that we will have for this program, will be for all career levels, and we hope that the call opens in the autumn of this year, in 2025, and it will close early 2026. That's our expectations.
Thank you so much, Antonio, for this overview and for highlighting this importance that Frontiers believes of encouraging early career journalists and also helping secure the future of science journalism. So next, I'd like to ask Rita Silva to share with us some of the frequently asked questions and the respective answers that we have gotten during these processes. And these questions relate mostly to the application process. So Rita, please.
Thank you, Anna. So I will present just a short overview of some of the questions we have received. You can see the complete list on our website, but for a matter of starting this Q&A sessions, we can start already with some of the most asked questions. So for this third round of fellowships, who can apply? As Antonio already mentioned, this call is exclusively aimed at science journalists with up to 5 years of professional experience. The grants will be assigned directly to the selected journalists, and the host institutions are not funded in any way through these initiatives, nor they are intermediaries in the funding received by the journalists. In terms of the starting dates, again, Antonio already mentioned that the expected started dates for this call are in the autumn of 2025, starting in September, and then the exact starting date of the residency should be then coordinated with the host institution and researchers and the journalist, of course, to better suit the timelines for each party. Again, Antonio also stressed the importance of frontier research in the context of this project. So it is important to note that the grants, frontier grants, will only be awarded to projects that put frontier research at their core. And we have Yoram here from Inspire that can help us then better address these indicators, but I will list some of the important attributes of frontier research. Frontier research should be should focus on basic research. It should tap into uncharted water, pushing the boundaries of knowledge. It should aspire to the foundation of new discoveries. It should be founded on new principles or new conceptions, involve high conceptual scientific risk, should be the first or best in class, and addressing complex global challenges. Again, these are indicators that will then be assessed by our panel of evaluators. An important part of this project, besides being in the host institution, is the role of the researchers. So researchers working in frontier science projects are welcome to work alongside the Frontiers Fellows during their residencies to help them navigate the day-to-day of their research institutions and support them in any kind of questions or interrogations that they may have about their frontier research. Then, are Frontiers Fellows expected to work for the institutional communication of the host institution? And the clear answer is no. So our grants will be attributed for the journalists to pursue their journalistic projects. They are in no way obliged to work for the communication departments of the host institutions. Then what type of commitment is expected then? So besides a focus on their project, so allocating the hours that they have stated in their projects throughout their residency, they should interact frequently with researchers, any other professionals within the host institution. Also, it is encouraged that they take part in the social and cultural events that being carried in the host institutions. They should participate in the training activities, networking activities that we organize, the Frontiers Project. And then they should also collaborate with the Frontiers team with the communication of in dissemination of their residencies. And also importantly, there will be several steps in which they are asked to provide feedback to our team. So these are the commitments for the fellows, and then for the host institutions, what type of commitment is expected. So the host institution and the Frontiers manager, who is the person assigned to be responsible for the fellow in their host institution, should ensure a fruitful experience for the journalists there. And this includes, in practical and logistical terms, a working space with access to internet, a badge that can give access to all the premises of the institution. They should also have access to cafeteria, canteen, electronic resources, library, etc. And also they should have access to events and activities organized by the institution's staff. Of course, relevant events. In terms of activities that are organized within the host institutions, institutions are encouraged to invite fellows to participate in seminars, workshops that are meant to encourage debate on science communication, science journalism, and related topics. And then again, we ask the host institutions to collaborate with the Frontiers team, documenting the residencies of the fellows. Again, so this is just an overview. Please visit our website if you want to have a more detailed, frequently asked question.
So thank you, Rita, for all these valuable insights. And we'll now open the floor to your questions. Before we begin, let me just introduce the other members of the consortium who are joining us for the Q&A. Joran Barzif, Abi Glasser, Fabio Turon, Cristina Ferrario, and Gemma Revuelta. And if you have a question, you can use the raise hand feature on Zoom. And when called upon, please unmute yourself and briefly introduce yourself before asking your question. You can also type your question directly into the chat window and we'll read it out for you. Or for those following us on YouTube, you can leave your questions in the comments sections and we'll address them as well. Please feel free to start submitting your questions now.
Excuse me, Anna. I just wanted to add that Alexandra Borisova is also present. I didn't mention that. And
oh, I'm so sorry,
she's with us
Alexandra. So sorry, Alexandra.
Hello, thank you.
from the research team. There are two questions written in the chat. I don't know if you noticed.
Okay, I don't know if any of you wants to start tackling this one. The first one is I have 1 year of experience as a science journalist, but before that I worked in other areas, nothing related to communication. Would I be considered an early career journalist?
Yes, the text of the answer when Rita was reading it in our website might probably be made a little bit clearer. The years of professional experience in journalism are the criterion. So not having previous experience, professional experience in other fields doesn't count in terms of establishing the career stage. So for us, it's when you start working professionally as a journalist. I see a second question about.
Yeah, I think the next two questions are similar to those. So it's related to how exactly we count these years of experience. So
Yeah, so
someone who's a general journalist.
The general journalist is perfectly acceptable. And again, the years of professional experience in journalism, whatever the beat. So if you worked in journalism, covering other areas, and you also cover science journalism, it's accepted. The topic of the proposal, of course, will have to be focused on frontier science, which can be science as we usually refer to it, but also any social sciences, provided that they use a frontier research approach. The other question concerned the working as a science journalist and also as an institutional science writer. Again, the criterion is this call is for science journalists, and the criterion is starting to be a science journalist as a counting for the 5 years for the for this call and for the future call, again, it's the seniority in science journalism.
Okay, thank you, Fabio. Before we continue with the questions that we have here in the chat, I'm going to ask Anna May if she wants to unmute and
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Anna.
Hi, I have a question. I am a host institution. I have a question about the insurance. Is there any type of insurance for the journalist to be in the institution? Because, for example, in our research center, there are chemical labs, or I don't know if there is an accident, or so any health insurance or accident insurance, or what is the relationship between the host and the journalist in this case? And then also another question, where do we find the commitment letter? You said you have to sign, we have to sign. And then a third question, sorry. You said that the journalists have to write a residence project. I guess that we have to be in contact. I mean, they will be in contact with us, no? And we have to talk about this project together, or is just an idea of the journalists, this residence project? If they look at our research, or how in the past calls, how did this work? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Anna. So we have here three questions. One is related to insurance, the other of the journalist during the residency and who covers these costs. The other is about the commitment letter and how does this work. And the final is about the journalist projects and the previous interaction between applicant and host institution. So I don't know who wants to take each one.
I think I will answer the first one about the insurance. Okay. So basically, this program is just granting these grants to the journalists without interfering with any technical or administrative arrangements between the journalist and the host institution, or anything that has to do with moving to another country for the purpose of the residency. All these are under the responsibility of the journalist to set up with the relevant parties, be it the host institution or any other authorities that might be involved in that. The grant money should eventually cover all your expenses in that context. When you apply, you are required to provide some kind of a breakdown of the expected costs, so you can definitely add the cost of the insurance into that. But once you get the grant from us, you don't need to report on how exactly you use the money for that matter. So I hope this answers this question.
And just to clarify, the cost should be still included in the top amount, which is for the early career journalist, 4,000 euro per month. So it can be covered, but it will not be added on top of the 4,000 per month. It will have to be part of that. As for the other question, the idea is that every journalist will work on their own project and will decide how much they will profit from the collaboration of the host institution via the communication office or via directly the scientists they might decide to approach. So there is no requirement for them, from our side, there is no requirement for them to submit their proposal to the host institution in advance. Of course, they have to be sure, the applicants are expected to be sure that what they plan to do is acceptable from the perspective of the host institution. But again, the idea is to protect as much as possible independence of journalists. So the idea we start from is that the host institution, in a way, offers all the potentially useful suggestions, contacts, and so on, and then it's up to the journalist to use those offers for their project. There was a third part of the question, Anna.
The third question was about the commitment letter. So how does it work?
There is a template available on the website. Rita, can you maybe provide exact details on, or maybe
Yes,
put the link in the chat?
The link is already in the chat, so it can be found under the program guide, where you can find also other relevant documentation for the application process. It's already.
Okay, we have another question. Thank you, Rita. We have another question here about the kinds of journalistic final products that are expected at the end of the fellowship. So, Fabio, maybe you want to take this one?
Yes, the answer is that there is no expectation of specific outcomes. It's up to the applicant to decide what will be the object of their research period as a fellow in the host institution, and to write down in their project what they plan to do. It may be personal growth, it may be searching for a future book, it may be searching for stories. What Antonio said earlier, you're not expected to write for other on other topics, but if your project includes or offered since the beginning the possibility, had the idea of pitching stories while being a fellow, it's perfectly acceptable. It has to be part of your or related to your project. So you're not barred from pitching stories if you wrote in the project submitted to which was selected and granted, but you're not asked in advance to provide any specific form of coverage. So it's up to the applicant to decide what might make their project suitable for funding, and then the only request that we will follow up on is whether or not the project was completed during the fellowship. So midterm, we will check that everything is on tracks, and again at the end of the project that the project was completed during the fellowship. But it's up to the journalist. If they say they will publish 3 stories and they put it in the project, then they will have to explain whether they published those 3 stories or not, and for what reasons, because any changes compared to the submitted project will have to be communicated. The reason why will have to be explained, and we will have to see whether there are remedial actions and how to deal with unexpected circumstances. But again, in general, we don't ask anything besides coming up with the best possible project, making the best possible use of your time in the selected host institution.
Okay, we have another question here from Laura. I think, Yoram, you can take this one. It's about the future rounds, and if we can give more detailed information about the rounds, and if they are going to be open to all career levels, and the estimated timelines.
Well, yes. Well, basically, the current round is the kind of an exceptional one because it's targeting only the early stage career. And the next round, the 4th one, will open afterwards around autumn 2025. As usual, open to all career levels, following the regular rules and the regular instructions as published on our website. Nothing unique over there. It's going to be a regular call. So I hope this answered this question.
Sorry, Yoram, may I just add that probably Laura is asking if there are more than one call after this third one. So
no, currently, currently that's the last call. We can't say anything about future call at this point because of the limitation of the budget.
Okay, thank you, Yoram. We have another question here, which I think has to do with eligibility of the journalist. So Geronimo is a trained journalist from Africa in Namibia. He attended a course in science journalism. Is he qualified to apply? So I think probably this will depend on how many years Geronimo has been a journalist, but I'll let Fabio answer better. Where can I find the topics, or can I come up with my own topic? And lastly, do you have a mentor who can guide me during the application? Can I submit more than one application?
Oh, okay, very nice list of questions. So the criterion is, as you anticipated, how many years have you been a science journalist, a professional journalist practicing, and if you are currently working as a science journalist.
He says he graduated in 2023, so I guess.
Yes, so the condition must be that he must be currently working as a science journalist, as a freelancer, or as a staff, or yeah, or other situations. And then we cannot provide mentorship on proposals. We provide on the website the list of host institutions that have already agreed to take part in the project. And so there is a list of host institutions and of specific projects, which might be a source of inspiration. We also posted on the website the link, so we get access. We suggest you to go and have a look at the database of all projects funded by the European Research Council, because that's guarantee that if you find an ongoing project funded by the European Research Council and you find something interesting and you get in touch with the researchers, then it will be certainly frontier science. And if you can find with reading on the website and getting in touch with researchers or with host institutions an angle or a topic that you're particularly interested in, that might be the starting point for sure. And lastly, no, you cannot submit more than one application. You can be, so there is a possibility to submit more than one application whenever you realize that you made a mistake and there is still time before the deadline. So you are allowed to submit a second draft or second version of your application, but we will only take into account the last one posted from the same person. And here comes a recommendation that is worth making clear for everyone listening today and in the recording. When you submit the application, the system will send you an email acknowledging that your application was received with all the content of your application, with all the attachments. So you are absolutely invited to double check and triple check what was acquired by the system, because we had one case in the past when one of the files we did not find the correct explanation. Maybe it was the wrong file was attached, maybe it was corrupted in the process. But anyway, the submission was disqualified for lack of, because it was not complete. So the answer is one only application, just one application per person, and make sure that you check that everything was submitted properly after submission, and resubmit with the right attachments if you discover that something went wrong the first time around. So that's also a suggestion to not get to the very last moment with your application.
Sorry, just another thing, that is just one submission per applicant per call, but the journalist can apply for the next one. There's no limit.
Exactly, right. So if you're not selected for the call open right now, you can still resubmit for the next call.
Okay, Fabio, there's another question here which is related with the number of application, but it's from the side of the host. Can a host institution support more than one application?
Yes, provided that they inform all applicants, because there is no chance that we will fund more than one grantee for the same host institution in the same call. So in call 3, the host institution is welcome to provide hospitality and to sign commitment letters to more than one applicant, and the chances for the host institution do increase, but the applicants may have a very good proposal and be discarded because someone else was selected to go to the same host institution. There's a limit of one host institution per round.
Okay, I still have some questions here in the chat, but I'm going to move to Ana Lozano, who has raised her hand here in the Zoom. So Ana, if you want to go ahead.
Hello. Yes, thank you. Thank you for all the information you've given so far. I have 2 questions. First of them is related to the criteria, to the residency criteria. I'd like to know if the jury will count positively the fact that we choose a center that is abroad, that is not in our home country. And the second question has to do again with what others asked before, related to what's considered an early career journalist. Because, for example, in my case, I graduated from my master's in science communication in 2020, and my internship was on a local radio station. But until this year, I have never been paid for doing scientific journalism. So I think that in this area, in this professional area, sometimes it's difficult to put the line of where it started to be considered professional. So I still have doubts about it. Thank you.
Okay, Anna, thank you. So the first question was about if the host institution has to be in the home country or if it can be abroad. I don't know if you want to answer this.
There is no limitation, and it's not easy to say that this is not anything. It will be evaluated individually by each evaluator in the context of the general evaluation. So this is not necessarily relevant to choose the institution from the same country of residence of the applicant.
So it's more relevant that you are able to probably explain how the type of research that's being done in that house institution more than the country, as long as it's in one of the countries associated with Rise in Europe, of course.
Okay.
And the second question is very tricky. And again, I perfectly understand your concern. This is going to be a concern for us as well. And we, at some point, we will have to rely on what is declared by the applicant. So unless there are patent violations of that, we will not investigate in depth. So there will be a moment in which we check what is declared, but we will. The real issue is that anyone who does not, who is not fully honest on this, which is an eligibility criterion, may be one in the future asked to respond by the European Commission and by audits, because that would be a breach of the legislation. So you have to be honest, and I think that beyond that, in your case, the professional activity is exactly in both sides. You have to prove that you are working as a professional journalist, so you have to provide the letter of recommendation and anything that proves that you're not just a student. And on the other side, Yes, if we see online articles with the byline on respected media, we might assume that those articles were paid. Those were journalistic, professional journalistic activity, and discard the proposal. But other situations, we need to rely on the trust system.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have here a question about the application. If it's mandatory to, if it is a mandatory limit to submit up to 10 publications, is it possible to submit less? And I think the answer is yes, because it's up to 10. So yes, not more than 10, but it can definitely be less. But I don't know if Fabio, you want to add anything to this?
No, absolutely. They have to be recent. We received a similar question in the previous info day, which was if I have publications on the topic of the project that are older than 2 years, can I attach them? And the answer was, as long as you have, I think we asked at least 3 and up to 10. So you have to provide at least 3 proofs of professional work.
Not older than 2 years.
Not older than 2 years. And then anything more than that, up to 10, because we don't want to overwhelm the evaluation, the procedure. So not more than 10, not less than 3.
Yeah. There's a question here about how effective a recommendation received. Okay, what do you mean recent? But I think you just said, right, Christina, the recent, it was less than 3 years, was it?
Less than 2 years, I think.
2 years, so 2 years. So the question is, how effective is a recommendation received from a scientist that we have worked with compared to one received from a journalist?
You have the chance to add up to 3 recommendation letters. I would say that it depends on the overall content of your proposal. So if you have a very strong track record and you have a lot of stories, so there is no doubt that you are a very strong journalist, most likely the point of view of the scientist will add an angle. Otherwise, the opposite might be true. So if you are a journalist that has just started after finishing a journalism master or university, a letter from a professional in the field might prove that you are a professional. And we give the possibility to add up to 3 recommendation letters, also with the idea that you may provide testimonies from different people from different backgrounds.
Okay, here there's another question. I just want to confirm, based on what's on the website, that we are required to effectively have an agreement from a host institution that they would be supportive of our project and application were it to be successful.
It's absolutely necessary to attach to the application the commitment letter signed by the host institution, 1 or more host institutions, because you may include maybe sometimes 2 host institutions if your project requires that. But it is definitely necessary to have an exchange with the scientists, of course, and with the person that accepts to be identified as frontiers manager of the host institution, which will be our contact point for anything related to the fellowship. Another detail, Antonio said it, it is not needed to be part of the database for host institution to be eligible.
Joram, we have just one final asked for a clarification about the next calls. if the program will run until 2027. And
Where
the
is it?
residency.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, currently, according to the plan, we are going to have only these 4 cores. The project itself runs, let's say, to some extent afterwards, because we need to summarize a lot of things and produce our reports. But currently, that's the plan.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if there are any other questions from the room or from Rita. I don't know if there are questions on YouTube.
No, not on YouTube.
Okay, so as our session comes to a close, I just want to thank you all for your active engagement and your valuable contributions today. I'd like to remind everyone that the application deadline is May 6th, so please ensure you submit your application on time. We are genuinely excited to see your story ideas and to support you in creating an impactful science journalism. So on behalf of Frontiers, we want to express our gratitude to the European Research Council for their support and to all of you for taking the time to be here with us today. For those preparing an application, we hope we've addressed all your questions and wish you the best of luck in preparing your proposals. We count on you. Should you have any further questions or require assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can find our contact information and all the necessary details on our website at frontiers.media. We also encourage you to follow us on our social media on LinkedIn, X, and Instagram for updates and any helpful tips. Thank you again for joining us and good luck with your applications.